Facebook Live.
I don't know how you do that.
So when I put you all on, if you all want to, you can share. As we're live, I think hitting live now, and do a watch party as well. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the All Nations Church of God in Christ Tuesday night Bible study. As I always say, there's no place like this place, nowhere near this place. So this must be the place to be. And so we're grateful and thankful for another day that God has blessed us and allowed us to come together and to be able to come and share the gospel of Jesus Christ in various shape, forms, or fashion. Tonight, we're going to continue with our relationship series as we discuss Married with Christ. Now, I know a lot of you know about the TV sitcom Married with Children, but tonight we're Married with Christ, and we have some wonderful couples that are going to share with you some of their expertise and experiences as married couples, and hopefully help some individuals out there who may have some issues and struggling in their marriage. But hopefully tonight something will be spoken or said that will bring words of encouragement and life to some dead situations in your marriage. So again, thank you for tuning in. Dear gracious God, we thank you for life, health, and strength, and we thank you for this evening. We thank you for every person that is represented on our panel on tonight. We ask that words of wisdom and knowledge be shared through Facebook waves, that people will be able to take something away that will improve and enhance their marriage. God, I ask that those who are single will be able to identify with some things in an individual who they are interested in and be able to know what and what not to do. But God, in all things, we want to acknowledge you, for you will direct our path. We thank you for this evening. We thank you for this night. We give you glory, honor, and praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So tonight we're going to get ready and get started. We're going to dive right in. We only have an hour, but we have some great panelists on tonight. And I'm going to have them go ahead and introduce themselves. And I'm going to start with I think I'm going to start with I'll say the most experienced couple on tonight, and they will introduce themselves, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to ask our own brother Saul Brass and Sister Edna Brass to open up, give us their information, and then tell us how long they've been married, and we'll move from there. We'll move to the Collins, and then we'll move to the Birds.
Good evening. My name is Edna Brass, and I'm married to Saul Brass. We have been married December 17th. It will be 43 years.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah. But God. And I am retired. We have 3 adult children, married to 3 fine men, and a total of 5 grandchildren. So that's kind of what our lives revolve around: us, me and him, and the children and the grandbabies, and it's good.
Absolutely good. But both of us are retired. I've been retired since 2012. Edna's been retired since
2014.
Love it.
Thank you. Collins?
My name is Mark Collins, and this is my lovely wife, Deidre Collins, and we are members of the All Nations Church of God in Christ, proud members. We've been married now for 25 years, and thank God. 25 years, and we have 2 grown sons, mighty men of valor. We thank God for both of them, both college degreed, and so we just thank God for our marriage and our union. And thank you for having us to serve on the panel on this evening.
Yes, thank you.
Amen. Birds?
Good evening. My name is Jeremy. This is my wife, Lindsay. We have been married, actually, in 10 days. It'll be 10 years for us. We're here. Praise Jesus. That guy, right? Yes, we've been married for 10 years. I work for Charter Communications. She is able to be home with our kids. We actually have 4 kids, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2. Feels like 8, 7, 4, and 1. We don't have gray hair yet, so praise God for that. I was about to say I might be catching up to you. But yeah, that's about it. You know, we're just striving every day to know each other better and you know, grow together as a couple.
Great.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you all again for being a part of our panel discussion on tonight. And we want you just to be as organic and authentic as possible as we endeavor to help individuals have a successful, lasting marriage with Christ being, of course, the center of the marriage in everything that we do. And so with given that we have, of course, divorce rate that is steadily rising in America, individuals not sure if they want to stay married, contemplating being married and different things of that nature, I think that is definitely beneficial to help shed some light on relationship connections through married couples to, again, hopefully help some individuals that may be on the brink of going to divorce court. Something may be spoken or said, and they can identify with what is going on in your particular marriage that may be helpful and beneficial to them. So with that being said, I just would like for whoever wants to jump in on tonight to first start off with my first question would be is what was it that let you know that they were the one? Out of all the relationships that you encountered in life, what is it that made you say, this is the one?
I guess I'll go first. I think for me, you know, my wife checked all my boxes off. I was very specific because I wanted to make sure that I was attracted to my wife and that I stayed attracted to my wife.
You trying to get them brownie points tonight?
Trying to get some other stuff tonight too.
Okay.
Married, it's legal. I had a very specific checklist, man. Of course, you know, I prayed for her. I felt like we were doing the right things. Of course, you know, we run into the typical things, you know, that any relationship runs into. But I think because of the foundation that we had Christ first, that allowed us to weather a lot of storms. And this was actually my only relationship where I had Christ as the foundation. So that kind of solidified a lot of stuff for me personally. And it was a no-brainer. At that point in time, it was just, you know, when am I going to pop the question? When am I going to hear about? So.
Lindsay, how did you know that he was the one? Or did he just make you force you?
That's a loaded question. That's what
our relationship started off with him being more interested than I was in the beginning. I tell him all the time, persistence won him in the beginning. It was definitely persistence. But the moment I knew that I was going to marry Jeremy was the moment when I was at my most vulnerable point. And that opportunity where he had every advantage to take advantage of the situation, he literally prayed me through that situation. And at that point I knew, yeah, this is it. This is it. At a moment where I needed someone to really pray me through, he was that person.
Awesome. Amen. All right.
Well, I guess we'll go next. Well, my wife and I, we grew up in the same circles, literally in the church. Grew up in the church, and we got married when we were 21. I was 21. She was 21, and I was 23 at the time. And so, growing up in the church, we our relationship was traditional in the sense where we grew up in our district, in our church, and I found my wife to be quite attractive. And even, I believe, even knowing her family, her background, her knowing me, You know, as a teenager, I had my eye on my wife, and that translated to a relationship. For her specifically, her passion for Christ is really what attracted me to her. Like I stated, Christian values for me, the foundational, how you grow up made a big difference even in our connection. And so that connection for Christ, first of all, and then connection for her background, and just her being a beautiful individual in and out, you know, fell in love with her, proposed to her, got married, and 25 years later, you know, we're here to tell the story.
Amen.
As for me, first of all, I thought he was very attractive. And as he was saying, we grew up, you know, in church. So I kind of, you know, knew about him. And my mom, she was an evangelist, and she would run revivals at his church. And sometimes he would come to our church, even at 17, 16 years old. He would come to our church, you know, playing for our youth choir. And I was like, oh my God, he is so fine. Like, who is this dude, you know? Anyway, and I'm trying to play the cool role, you know, because I always wanted the guy to come for me, even though I kind of wanted to go for him. And I was like, no. But anywho, he checked my boxes as well. He exhibited characteristics of my father. I saw that, you know, he had the potential to be a great provider. Out of anybody I dated, he had the best car. I knew he was into technology because he always had his car hooked up with everything, to the point that it was always dying on the road because it was too much that he had in it. And I was like, oh,
17.
I was like, wow. And then, you know, to see his musical gift, that was an attraction as well. I love how God uses him to play and to minister in music. And so, oh, well, I won't say that.
Okay. You'll save it for later? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'll go first and let my wife go second. Edna and I knew Edna for a long time, but we did not date in high school. We kind of got separated with her going away to college, and I went to a Joliet Junior College, and then went to a career of my own. We reconnected how many years after? She had graduated from college, had finished, and was working.
Mm-hmm.
And we reconnected actually on a trip. She was raised in Second Baptist Church, and I was involved with Mount Zion. We reconnected on a trip that Mount Zion made to, what was the city?
Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Atlantic City, New
Harambe.
Jersey. Harambe, and that was long before you guys' time. Most of you guys weren't even born yet, but anyway. And we sat across from each other on the bus and ended up sitting together in a conversation. It was interesting that after we got back, I told her I was not interested in getting married. I told her that I wanted to date, and we were married
17 months after the bus trip.
17 months after the bus trip. Very. I thought I knew what I wanted, and she was a well-grounded Christian woman, and I wanted that in a wife. I wanted us both going in the same direction, what we wanted out of life. I loved her mom and her dad, and they really liked me.
Better than me.
So, I realized she had some values, a couple of some values that I really wanted instilled in my children. even before, so, and we got married, and we've been married for 43 years, and that's, yes, that's it.
So, Pastor Bearfield, as Saul said, we got reconnected on the trip, and I don't remember when he told me, I don't want to get married, so and so, and I was like, right, I'm not looking for a husband either. So, I had graduated from college, and one of the things that, being out of college, being now an adult, I remembered something that I was taught at Second Baptist growing up, and that was to pray for a mate. And so I was praying for a mate, and I wasn't on any kind of a timeline or anything like that. I wasn't even necessarily searching, praying for a mate. I knew that, God would bring that mate to me. I was, never concerned about, I got to have a husband, got to get a husband, because remember, I'm a baby boomer, but I'm in one of that first generation of women with a degree and a career and a job and all that. So, I can take care of me. And so, praying for a mate. And then as we dated, a relationship grew. I'm like, oh, I need to pay a little bit closer attention to where this is going and that. And so that relationship grew to the point where, eventually we became husband and wife. But one of the things that I would ask of my husband right now, since we have an audience, he has yet to ask me to marry him.
Well, I hope before this is over, he will do right and ask.
He asked my daddy, but he never
asked you. Okay.
And as a matter of fact, and I don't want to dominate the conversation, it was interesting. We were in a mall, a jewelry store, and I said, "Do you like that ring? Let's go look at some rings." And we got the ring, and I wanted to ask her dad because I want to be traditional. And I waited and I waited. She says, "If you don't ask him, we're not going to get married." So I took him out to dinner and asked the question, and the rest is history.
That's just history. Awesome. So I'm going to lead into this next question. It's kind of going to be a double question in there. The Bible says, Genesis 2:24, it says a man should leave his father and the two shall become one flesh. And they should cleave to, the man should cleave to his wife. And so with that, what do you, in the relationship wise, feel that particular scripture means that you are now one flesh? And then with that meaning that when the Bible says in Genesis 22:24, it says that he brought Eve to Adam, and he tells them, leave your mother and father and now cleave to your wife. So that means previous connections, which would be your mom and your daddy, is now placed with your significant other, your spouse. And then beyond that, anything that comes after that, children or whatever, it is still to be cleaved to your husband and your wife. So with that, what does it mean when the Bible talks about that one flesh? And then my second question added to that, should you ask for advice from your parents when you're having problems in your marriage? Should advice be asked of from now? They've been married and but should you allow the parents be allowed to interfere or provide advice as to what to do in the marriage?
Let Edna and I go first since we're the oldest one. And the interesting thing about us too is, we have married children. So that scripture really hits home with married children. Should your children come to you for advice? Well, first of all, I think it's important that you realize that your marriage is your marriage and not your parents' marriage. I often say you learn something from your parents. And when you get married, you bring both of those relationships. She brings her husband, her what she has seen in her house, mom and dad, and I bring what I have seen with my parents, and sometimes they are different. And when you bring those in there, you're gonna do one or two things. You will either say, I want my marriage like my mom, or you'll say, I'll never do what my mom and dad did in their marriage. And both of those are good. They are something that's something that's part of that leaving and cleaving, that you look at those situations and you learn from them. And and then I have experienced our girls take a bit of what went on in our house into their relationships. And it is also important that we not interfere with their relationship. One of the things that I believe is important is unsolicited advice. Sometimes is the worst advice.
Mm.
It's not good, even if you think you're right. It's bad. It is difficult enough when they solicit advice from you.
Mm.
But when you give advice simply because I'm the mom, I'm the dad, and I know what's going on, and what y'all are doing is wrong, that you got to stay away from that.
I agree.
Brother Bass, what's your Cash App? Because I
We're
need
gonna
to
send
send
you.
you an offering right now.
We
Please
can
send
log
me your
off right
Cash
now.
App so I
Get
can
some of
send
that.
your offering.
That's
That's
it
good.
right there.
We can go home now.
That's
That's
it.
it. That's it.
Play something soft. That's it.
One of the things too is I think it has somewhat to do with your age when you got married. And when I say that, sometimes if you're older and you look back at a parent's marriage, maybe you understand their relationship a little bit better, and so, but maybe not. And I'll just say, with any relationship, marriage, with any relationship, you bring, I always say it like this: you bring your trash and your treasure. And so that's the thing that you have to work through in order to make a marriage work. And even when you say trash, sometimes you think about something bad, something dirty, something you need to throw in the garbage. But sometimes it could be something that, this is just maybe not going to work. I was trying to think of an example, but it could be something where you grew up in a house, and parents never they were never together with finances or whatever, and you come in and assuming that's what it's going to be. Well, you can't make that assumption. That maybe that worked for them, but that may not work for your marriage. So yeah, advice. If they come and ask, you tell them, but and you leave it right there. They may not act upon it.
Birds.
Wow.
Oh, I said if you didn't say nothing, I went.
We didn't have that type of in-law situation that the Brasses provided. We learned early on in our marriage that involving the parents just was not a good idea. It wasn't wise. I think we learned that in year 1 and 2.
Yep.
That it's just best that we just leave them out. And it doesn't matter how minuscule it may be. When it comes to our parents, at the end of the day, they're still our parents. And it doesn't matter in that moment. Like if your kid is upset or hurting, you immediately want to guard your kid. Despite them being a whole grown adult, it doesn't matter. You still immediately want to guard them. And I learned personally, just with a conversation that I was having with my mom, and she explained to me, Lindsay, I think it's best we just don't have these conversations, because I don't get over things as easily as you do. And I had to take a step back at that moment and come from her position, because I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. But she explained to me, like, she doesn't want to ever be at a position where she's holding grudges and we've already moved on past it. Like, this is something that was so small, and in the morning, it's all over.
Mhm.
But for her, she's still holding on to it 2 and 3 weeks later because I'm not sure why, but we had to learn that parents hold grudges too. And that was on both ends. So we just decided respectfully, we're just gonna keep them out.
So the parent then takes a side of their child and don't
Yes.
look at it the whole picture,
Right.
So
is what you're saying.
what
Right.
it does, honestly, is it breeds discord.
Absolutely.
And that's what you don't want.
Right.
And no matter how you may feel, like some stuff just has to stay between the husband and the wife.
I would agree.
I also feel like it's great if you have other married friends. It's
Yes.
okay. Like I got married friends that I've been to. She has married friends that she vents to, that are unbiased parties that's gonna be able to tell you, nah,
Yes.
man, you wrong, or yeah, you were right in this. However, you
Mhm.
still need to make sure you see her side
Mhm.
as well. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's yeah.
And
that's
even
not
to
it.
mention the verse about leaving and cleaving, that was something that did not come easy. My husband was a mama's boy. Like that leaving and cleaving,
Okay.
it was.
Let me just, while we're on Facebook Live, let me just go and say, because my mom is actually watching right now. I was definitely not a mom's boy. What it really is that I respected my mom, but I had to also check my mom because it got to a place where there was discord created. And so I had to really check her for my wife because of this scripture right here. I had to really break that. And
But you had that conversation with your mom to let her know that this is my wife and I have to,
exactly.
as much
And
as I
she
love
is the
and
number
respect
one
you.
woman in my life. Yeah. I still love and respect you, but you have to understand that she's gonna always come before you. Right. And sometimes you have to have that hard conversation. Yeah, I still love my mom. Absolutely. I talk to my mom often. There's no love lost at all. And she understood it. Maybe not right then and there, but she eventually got to it. And now the relationship that we have, the relationship that she has with her daughter-in-law, is not better than it ever has been. Because of the conversation that we had. It's necessary. And it's also necessary to do it sooner than later.
Mm.
I think that's good. I think that's real good. This scripture, the importance here, where it talks about leaving and cleaving, this is God's view of marriage for his children, literally to leave and cleave, and kind of putting it in a historical context. In the ancient society, one of the highest forms of respect at that time and allegiance was given to the parents, and I think rightfully so. So in this scripture, it's saying, okay, so now that you have selected a spouse, now your responsibility comes now, and your allegiances kind of change from that of your parents to that of your spouse and your mate. And that's not always easy. That's not always easy, especially when you're dealing, of course, with the love, of course, of you love your parents. You love your parents, and that will never, ever go away when loving your parents. My parents actually made it easy. I love my in-laws to life. And the same way with my mother. My mother decided early on, she was a prayer woman of God, decided early on, look, that's your wife, and you all have to work those things out. So oftentimes, and this is not meant as a disrespect I honor all of my parents and my leaders, but sometimes they can be a distraction. And that distraction pulls away from the connection that has to be made with the spouse. And so now, so I think some parents have to be careful of not mingling in their children's relationship. And the truth of the matter is they mean well.
That's right.
They mean well.
Right.
But it causes a distraction, and it pulls at the connection that has to be made according to God in this word, in this scripture, between a man and his wife.
Amen. So the Collins, you want to say something?
Yes, I totally agree with everyone.
And
In addition to that,
okay.
I would like to say Speaking from and I thank God for my in-laws as well. They've prayed us through, and I honor them, and I thank God even, for, my parents, my dad and my stepmom. My mom passed away before Mark and I got married. That was part of the story I left out. She was always saying, what about this young man? What about him? I'm like, oh my God, who wants their mom to pick out their boyfriend? Anyway, and so I don't know. I'm coming from a parent of grown sons who could possibly be entertaining the thought of marriage in another 5 years. I've always felt that I don't have a past judgment. And I always tell them, no matter how bad it is, always feel free to come, because I'm going to tell you whether you're right or wrong. I don't pick and choose sides. Yes, I love my children. And even on Valentine's Day, I tell them, look, I should get something because I'm the one who loved you first and taught you how to love. So, anywho, it don't have to be romantic love. It can be any kind of love. It's Valentine's Day. Come on. But so even from that perspective, that deep thought and connection and feeling that I have for my own children, I would want them to feel open to know that I'm not here to condemn you nor her, that I'm only simply here to give a balanced perspective on whatever matter that it is. You need to understand fully where she's coming from, and maybe she's not understanding where you're coming from. So everybody needs a go-between. And I think, like they were saying, married couples are good. The Lord's going to have to help me with that unsolicited advice when it comes up, Well,
I'm glad you're honest. I'm
honest because if I saw something, I would wait. I think I would use wisdom and wait till later and say, hey, son, why don't you be a little more gentle with her, a little more nice to her, a little sweeter to her. So I think I would be an advocate for both sides, honestly. And I think if you can maintain that balanced perspective, if you can be fair to both parties and not side with the one you gave birth to, I think that would be rich wisdom and advice and knowledge that's being passed on to the next generation so that they can not just survive in a marriage, but to thrive in their relationship. So that's mine.
And then also, one additional point, Pastor, I'd like to put in there. As couples, I think we all need a model to model after. I have several models, even in our own ministry, that, that we look to, that we want to even be like, and I think that's important to even see couples who are married and fabulous. And, and to glean from them, look at them, pull from them, and learn from them. As we grow, we all need to have something to model after. And if we want to be successful, we don't need to see the ones who are not successful. We want to be together. And so we want to model those who are together and who are living peaceably with one another, as the Bible tells us.
I agree. I tell people all the time that every couple needs another couple rooting them on. It's essential to your marriage. Every couple needs that other couple that they can come to and explain situations to that won't be biased. Like, you need that. You need another. Going to single people does not help. But going to another married couple whose main goal is to stay married and to be true to each other, having that is essential. And I tell that to every other married couple. You have to have another couple rooting you on, having somebody in your corner, in your pocket.
Yeah.
Amen. And I'm going to send a shout out to Brother and Sister Bates, because they're one of our couples who we say we want to be like when we grow up. And also Brother and Sister Lang in our ministry, beautiful, saintly, older couple. So.
I hope Deacon Bates and Sister Bates are listening. They wouldn't come on tonight, so I'm not going to put them on Front Street. Did I say that they wouldn't? Did I say that? Oh, God.
Yeah.
Lord forgive me.
Good people.
But yes, they are some great couples to look at, and I think that it is essential for married couples, and I think that's why it's important. Elder Mark and Sister Collins are two people that I requested to oversee our marriage ministry at All Nations, and it was an area ministry that was not existing when I came, and it's something that I saw that was very vital, because I think married couples help each other out. When you have that camaraderie, and then you have that ability to go and see someone else who's experiencing things that may be going on in your marriage. Again, there may be a difference of personalities, but there are some things that you can be able to glean from one another when you're able to share with each other what's going on and what's happening. And I think it's vital and important. And when it comes to, as the Bible says, leaving and becoming one flesh, the one thing about it is that unfortunately you can't become one flesh if you're still connected to your mom or your dad. That means that you still have, that means that umbilical cord has to be cut. And if that umbilical cord is not cut, what happens is that means the mother is still feeding the child.
Yes.
Yep.
And if the mother is still feeding the child, that means that you are getting your source of food from someone else other than God, who should be the first person that you should go to whenever there's issues and problems. Then let God direct you to the right individual. Let God speak or bring someone into your situation that can give you that guidance. But as long as you are attached to the umbilical cord when you're in a marriage, then always going to be that mother or father is always going to be attached to your life. And therefore, you won't be able to really get fed outside of that parenting that you've received over the years. And so those umbilical cords definitely, I believe, have to be cut moving forward into marriage. And then I want to go to the other part on that. And I said about that cleaving means prior as well as future. I want to hear from you all in regards to, as you have children, all of you have children. And I've seen in marriages where the one of the parents sometimes cleaves to the child versus still being cleaved to their spouse. And there is a connection that takes place with the child. And in some cases, I think that in some marriages, and even though I'm not married, and I don't need you all to pray for marriage for me tonight, that you say that one.
We're praying and receiving
Don't
it for
pray.
you.
But in having conversations and counseling with individuals, there have been times where the one of the particular parents gives more attention to the child than the spouse. How do you handle a situation where the spouse still remains significant after children come along?
I think,
How do you balance it? I would say that, because children need attention. And then sometimes, how do you balance with that child? It's like, that's not that I sometimes maybe mean to neglect, but they can't take care of themselves. So how do you balance having the spouse and your children?
Well, the thing that's going to help is for both people to understand that there are different seasons when you're raising your children. So if you have small children, they're going to take a lot more attention than when they get to be 10, 11, and 12. And if both people don't understand that, it may seem like the mom is giving more attention to the children. So what you do is you work as a couple, and okay, we're going to have to give this attention. It's just taking a lot of time, with a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. And then, but if you understand that, then you have to intentionally schedule some time for just the two of you to regenerate, to talk, to cuddle, because you're tired now, okay? So just to fall asleep on the couch, okay? And that no matter what kind of big plans you thought you had, it may be like, woo, I can sleep uninterrupted. And then as they get older, it doesn't require as much attention. So you have to make sure that you are not allowing the children to consume all of your time and all of your attention and that. And so if it's the mom and I'll say this, and the father is sitting back and not taking an active role in helping with these babies that need all of this attention and that, then maybe that's your perception, but maybe if you jump in and change a couple diapers or do a couple baths and things like that, that mom is not having to have so much of her time consumed with helping the babies. So but yeah, so right, because there's going to get to a point where, and I guess this might be another question, it's going to get to a point where those children are going to be out of the house, And that's when that's the flip side of that. You know, like, oh, finding yourselves again and seeing, oh, I don't have the children to take up any of my time. It's just me and you. Uh-oh. Okay, so what are we gonna, you know?
Do we really love each other now?
Right. Oh, you know, right. Well, you know, so, but you know, consider the seasons, and work together to be able to spend some time together, and not with the children. You know, yeah.
And one of the things I think Edna points out, the season or divine timing, irregardless of what happens, God's divine timing is important, because, you know, marriage, I know that it doesn't always work out that way, but this is God's plan. Marriage and then kids, there's a reason for that, because
Divine order.
That's divine order, and because you need to realize when you get married.
They don't talk like that no more. So, you know, did you say there was an order?
Right.
There's an order. There's marriage, then children. Okay.
Right. It is divine order. Just because we don't do it doesn't mean God does not plan it that way. Okay. You need to, when you get married, you need to, you know, when you leave, you got to do some cleaving. And sometimes when there's little ones, because when children come, both you and your spouse, your attention is given to those children. Okay. Yeah. And it stays that way until they get to the point where they start getting a little independence, and it's still that way. And it goes back to that once the children leave home, and you find out, wow, this is my wife. I didn't, you know, all those 15 or 20 years or 23 years the children are home, she was their mom. But
she was their mom. She was your wife. She was their mom. Okay.
Right. Because you put so much care, and that's divine order. And it is important that you give your children, you know, and then I raise girls, and I believe that just as a man needs a man to show him how to be a man, a girl needs a man to show her how to be a lady. Mm. They need to realize that how a man needs to treat them, and they find that out a couple different ways. One of the things they do, they watch their daddy.
Yeah.
The other things that they do is when they watch their dad, and their dad has to also demonstrate the love to them. It is not the romantic love, but it's that family love. And if they don't get love from their dad, they look for it in other places.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want a man, mm-hmm, so I can be hugged. Yeah. But it's more than that.
So the thing with the divine order, I still want to say, but there's always, we don't want to forget about God's grace.
Absolutely.
You know, to carry us through, you know, that he still loves us in spite of us, and will carry us through those situations. Correct. But, you know, we did raise girls, and Pastor Bearfield, so, you know, and every one of them, they daddy's girls, you know what I'm saying? You know? But I have to say, when you talk about, they talked about models, you know, they had a model of a man who loved them, who helped around the house, who, you know, took care of them. And, you know, so that's the things that they wanted to seek after, you know, all their husbands, you know, right.
You know, Wendell.
Yeah. So
I think they brought up a good point about shared responsibility. Mm-hmm. That's important because you know, you do have that dynamic where it seems like the woman is just running, you know, and of course, you know, if it's really hard, especially if she's a stay-at-home mom, And then you have the man who goes out and work. So when he comes home, he feels like this is it. I'm ready to crash. I'm ready to watch TV, eat, whatever. So the woman is still in work mode. Now I got to get his dinner. Now I got to make sure he's fed, they're fed, things are cleaned up. You know, it's much easier when you have shared responsibility when he comes home and doesn't just turn off.
Right.
This is job number 2. Hello. It's job number 2 for you. Like it is my second half of the day too. I like to have some me time.
This is the second job. Okay.
Right. I like to have some me time too. You know, let's all come together. Let's reason together here.
Absolutely.
And so I really believe it would help balance even the energy. And because see, what happens is that just doesn't spill over to her being tired. Now you're talking about intimacy. That spills over into that area because she's too tired to do something. But he done got rested up. Yes, God. That ain't good. Hallelujah.
That ain't good.
That ain't good. So now something is gonna go lacking, you know, hence separation. And you got that gap that's open. The enemy uses that to come right in. And here comes sister girl, here come brother man.
Somebody said beautiful daddy.
And now the needs are being met. That's not being met here because there's not a shared balance. There's not shared duties, you know. And so I think you have to really be careful with that. That's very important for both people to feel equally loved and valued, and for both of their time to be respected.
Absolutely.
You know, that's foundational. You've got to have that. And you know, when my kids were younger, that was a bedtime. I know that don't exist now because I hear people's kids going to bed 11, 12, 1 o'clock. The devil is a lie. Your bedtime was 8 o'clock.
7:30.
Okay? Yeah.
7:30.
7:30 when they got a little older. I said 8 o'clock. Look, I'll go upstairs and read a little book to you. I'll read a chapter out this novel and we sing little songs and good night. So
you
8:30.
set the early time, so that gives you time in the evening to decompress.
To connect.
To get
You
to
have
connect.
And not
Okay.
just to have us time, but to have individual time as
That
well.
too.
Because I think that's very important.
Oh, it is.
All of this communication plays the best part because we had to learn early on. Even you all are speaking to our dynamic right now because we have 4 small kids, so we're still on it, and I actually stay at home with them. So
Yay!
when he
Good.
when he comes home, he is in that mode where I understand that he's tired, but I believe that he understands just as much as he's tired. He understands that I'm tired as well. So Jeremy never had that option of not wanting to help or not doing it. That wasn't an option for him. It just was not. So when he gets home, he's like, hey, here are your kids. But I had to learn that I still had to give him the space to, you know, woosah for a second. And I only learned that because he communicated that with me. And we had to have a conversation where he was like, Lindsay, I need a moment when I get home.
Right, transitional.
I was in the mode of, because I have 4 like
gave him the kids?
and they're back to back. I'm like, here, take your kid. It was always a baby. Like, here, take your kid. I'm gonna go to the bathroom by myself. Just take
Be real.
Precious moment.
And
With no conversation, it was an argument.
it was a full flash. And
Like,
he,
listen, I just got home. Let me take my freaking shoes off.
great.
Yeah,
No,
you
you
did that
get your
time of
kids,
transition.
you know?
Yeah,
But
that's important.
Like she said, the root of it is communication.
Right.
And we had to communicate. And also we had to really take introspect, and we had to take a step outside of ourselves and say, okay, she's had a long day with the kids. Like, I had a long day at work. However, I didn't have all the kids, and I know my kids are reckless, all the way down to Levi. So because of the fact that I know that they're reckless and they can sometimes gang up on her, I said, okay, cool. Let me just take this opportunity. Let me go ahead and grab the kids. Go, let you breathe for a little bit. Sometimes I'll cook. I don't cook every day because she typically cooks the majority of the time. But I'll cook some nights, and if she doesn't feel like cooking, then I'll say, all right, let's grab something to eat. I try to make her job easier when I get home, because I know she's had a long day. But I'll also convey to her, like, yo, I need a break as well, because while you're getting your break, I still don't have my break. But once again, that goes back to communication.
And we learned that early on too, because in year 1 and 2, we got pregnant with our son 3 months after we got married. So kids were always a part of our marriage
Right.
throughout the entire process.
Right.
So, and when to go back what you guys were talking about, when women have all this responsibility and load on them, and I was at that point where I felt like I had to do everything, like that was my job. I had to take care of the kids all by myself, hold a baby while I'm frying chicken, like all of that. I felt like I had to do all of that. And it wasn't until I got to a point I was like, wait, like I need some help. But I was getting upset with him for not helping, but I wasn't communicating to him that I needed that help in that area. And I think that's what was the, iceberg with us, like, hey, we need to establish some.
So you were silently angry at him. You were silently angry at him, upset and bothered with him, and you wasn't communicating it.
Right. No, I might have like threw chicken in the pan instead of placing it in there. Like
My girl.
hoping that a little bit of grease would have popped off him as he was going to the refrigerator to get something to drink. Like it might have gone that way, but I digress.
And you know what? Let me tell you, from a woman's perspective, you don't want to always tell the man. You want him to see what the need is and act upon that need. I don't want to have to tell you everything. Do you see? I'm running ragged up here doing cartwheels.
Let me say
this. You're gassy. I agree. You're gassy, Lindsay.
I agree with that. However, we can be so blind at times.
Absolutely.
And at the same, we can be blind at times, and we can have a lot of stuff on our plate. Because I know for me, because I am the only person that's working that goes to work and has a job. Let me be.
Thank you for saying
that. Let me be clear. My wife doesn't work. She has a full-time job. She works 26 hours a day.
I'm glad you
has a job outside of the home.
She has a full-time job, and I pay my wife to work. So, what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, like we're just like. Her thought process is on her kids. My thought process is on her, the kids, and also the house. So there's times where I'm not even thinking about that because I have other stuff on my plate that she doesn't even have to think about because that's not her responsibility in my opinion. Also, I don't feel like the men should just sit down. Like when I get home, like sometimes I do sit down because I'm tired. I drive a lot to my job. But I give my kids baths. I make sure that I help them with like food and stuff. Like sometimes, like if they still have homework when I get home, I try to help them out with their homework. And sometimes I have calls that I have to make for my job as well. But it really is a balance, and it has to also be a respect that you equal respect that you have for your spouse. Like, hey, I'm gonna help you out because I love you. I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I don't need you having a panic attack. So,
and we've learned to have fun with it, honestly. Yeah. Like the children challenge us every single day to have fun with it. Like even when it comes to bath time, I'm like, all right, how long is it gonna take for you to get 3 kids, or you get 2 and I get 2? We'll race to the race. Like
it's 7:18. Let's get these jokers in the bed by 7:30.
Let's see who comes out faster.
Let's go.
Like you have to make fun in everything that you do, because if not, everything will become stale, honestly.
Yeah.
And I understand that there are seasons in marriage. I mean, we're just coming up on 10 years, which is a big deal for us, but we're still babies in marriage compared to you all. But I think it's important for us to have fun in everything, because I know that there are going to be seasons where sometimes marriages do go stale. And we know that that's how we're just trying to avoid it at every cost. So in the meantime, we're making fun and light of everything.
We do also schedule, like we try to go out at least once a month where it's just us. We got a babysitter on retainer. So we're like, hey, listen, we need you to babysit for a couple of hours and we'll go and hang out. We'll enjoy each other, and I think that is what prevents the marriage from going stale. Communication, obviously, of course, but if you're spending that quality time with each other, that keeps everything fresh, because a lot of times with kids, the conversation was revolved around the kids. You don't really talk as much as you like to about each other. How's your mental ask her that almost every day. Babe, how is your mental? Like, where are you at? Do you need a break? That's important, So you just have to really practice it.
You brought up something. You said that you all still date.
Yeah.
So is there a time when dating stops once you get married, or should couples
No.
continue
No.
to date?
That's
Continue to-
continual.
Yeah.
It should be.
You need to continue to date. So for that very reason that my sister just stated, so that things don't get stale.
Yeah.
Because things can become routine, and routine becomes boring.
Mhm.
And to keep things active and exciting, after 10 years, after 25 years, after I believe 43, was it 43?
43.
After 43 years, you have to do things, to keep marriage exciting. Otherwise, it will become stale, which will become boring. And, anything boring is not exciting, and your attention will go elsewhere if it becomes boring.
So, question in regards to there is a question from the panel, and I'll get to that. So from the audience requested made a question. I want to get this one, and I'll get that in real quick. We talked about communication, and I think that is key. So when it comes to forgiveness, is forgiveness the same as forgetfulness? Why not? Can you forgive and not forget?
Of course.
And what does it take for you to move beyond the conflict or the issue that has arisen? So if you all get into some conflict that's happened in your marriage, do you forgive and forget, or do you just forgive and you still remember? What allows you to get past the conflict and move forward? Somebody said this to me. They said that they were, someone advised them never to leave your bed argument. Always, no matter what, make sure that you get it right before you go to bed. Now, realistically,
That's so unrealistic.
yeah. So how do you get beyond a conflict?
Are you trying to be specific but not specific? Like, are you referring to infidelity and things of that sort? Like, let's just put all the cards out on the table.
There's different conflicts.
There are levels to this.
Wherever you all want to go with it, wherever you all take it to.
I think one of the things, for Edna and I, and we talk about this sometimes, there is a commitment to each other, a commitment to our relationships. Over 43 years, I don't think we've ever gotten upset with each other quite, because we're human, but we've never been so upset with each other that she went and spent a night with her mom, or whatever. No, that's not part of what we believe.
No.
We believe it is sometimes when you think of, the divorces, people get divorced for some idiotic things, because I didn't sign up for this, so you got gray hair, and I didn't sign up for gray hair.
So Pastor Bearfield, memory is a intellectual kind of operation of your brain. So I believe that yes, you can forgive because you're not holding anything against anybody, and that forgiveness is really true is if you think about it and you don't have any ill feelings, you don't go off, and things like that, and sometimes being able to remember helps you to know what not to do also. And I think that, the bottom line is, yes, I think you can forgive and not forget. And we don't want to play semantics, as long as that not forgetting isn't something that you allow to keep boiling up within you, and you have to, all over again, So I believe that you can. That was the question. Yeah, I believe that you can. So often too, we in marriages we can argue and fight and be have a lot of discord on things that complement each other. We so often do not see in a marriage how we complement each other, you know, and I think that makes a marriage strong too. You know, Saul is easygoing and more laid back. I am more assertive, not aggressive, assertive. You know, don't get it twisted.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
You're assertive but not aggressive. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So we don't both need to be, you know, sometimes somebody needs to be a little bit more laid back. And so I'm, you know, after Saul, you know, he's laid back and he's easygoing, and then he doesn't get especially because, you know, customer service. If he doesn't get what he wants, he said, and then now you call him. You know? So, you know, that's, you know, kind of fun. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm at a point, well, I'll just speak for me. I won't speak for him, but forgiveness is key, but forgetting is not something that I'm going to do. And the reason why I say that I don't want to forget is because accountability is everything. So I feel like if we're getting to a point where you're showing bad habits, like, hey, I see we're going in the wrong direction. Let's talk about this and let's prevent, you know, some of these bad characteristics or actions from representing themselves. So forgetting is not something that I feel is necessary. I mean, it's not something that I'm going to constantly hold over his head. But if it comes to a point where I'm like, hey, we're kind of leaning back in that, you're kind of leaning back in that area, or we're kind of leaning back in that area, let's redirect things. I don't think you should forget. I just don't. I think forgetting honestly puts you at a hold where you don't see how far you've come if you're just forgetting about it.
So you don't think it's dangerous if you hold on to the memory? And I agree that memory will, because our mind causes us to remember things. But the reason I say what it is, it could be dangerous because, or let me put it this way. In some cases I've seen, whereas in marriage counseling, where one of the spouses will bring up something that happened that was supposed to have been forgiven, but they constantly will bring up and remember that situation and hold the individual to that mistake or that error or something that took place. And so when does the level of removing that, I guess, holding that person accountable, when does it stop?
Well, that's not forgiveness.
They didn't forgive that
That's
person.
not forgiveness.
They never forgave that person.
Then something is unresolved and something is not healed.
Right.
Something is not healed. Something has not been addressed.
That's
in
right.
a way that appeases that particular individual that keeps bringing it back up.
Can you all say that again? You said something is still not healed?
Something is still not healed. Something is still
not resolved.
That means that particular issue was swept under the rug, and maybe somebody just went on past it for whatever reason that was necessary to move past it at that time. But it's going to keep coming up until you actually deal with it. You know, no matter what it is, you've got to deal with that issue, or it will keep coming up.
So then what I'm hearing with you, what you all are saying is that at times there could be maybe a scar there. The scar is a reminder that this was something that was an affliction that happened in our marriage. But if that scar never gets to being looking at a scar, but it's always still an open wound, that means every time you go back to it, something else happens that still is fresh and has never had an opportunity to actually heal. So in the relationship, if you've not allowed that area in your marriage to heal, it's going to continue to be a wound, and versus being able to be healed and become a scar for you to come back and reminisce and say, hey, I remember we went through this, but God brought us through this. So is that what I'm hearing?
There's power in the scar. There's power in the scar. You hear me?
One of the other things, if it's not resolved, if it's not healed, it becomes one of the dangers in marriage is keeping scores.
Mm.
You got one strike on you, honey. You got two now, babe. You only get one more. You know.
And when I say, you know, not forgetting, meaning holding it over someone's head, is different from that cognitive intellectual thought process, Pastor.
Because you can't stop that. We have a billion thoughts that come to our mind.
Right.
Yes.
And then
And-
even like you said in marriage counseling, sometimes it's just simply a reference to, a reference of this is what happened and this is what, I'm not holding it against him. I'm not holding it against her, but this is really,
This is what happened.
this is
Right.
what happened.
Yep.
And this
Yep.
is a place where, we're trying to get to, I mean, yeah.
And I think a couple of things come into play. You have to ask you have to continually say, I forgive this person, because sometimes those thoughts can come to you. You could have just awakened in the morning. You could be just driving in the middle of the day and the thought comes to you, and you really have to check why you are entertaining those thoughts, because you can't stop a thought from coming, but you should not entertain it. And so at that point, it's like, okay, you know what? If I'm feeling some type of way about this thought, okay, I forgive so-and-so, I release it and I let it go in Jesus' name. And now I'm gonna think about something that is good. Let me think about something that is good about this person. Let me think about something that is good about our relationship. Let me think about something happy. I think that helps you as well. And if it's making you angry, because like I said, you can't stop the thoughts, but if it's making you angry, if you're getting right in that feeling that you were back then, like it's really fresh now, I would say not only praying for God to get this lifted off of you, but I think it's very healthy to do some counseling, to go to some marital counseling where you need that third party to say, hey, stop. Did you hear what she said? Do you even, I heard what she said, wait. But do you really understand what she's trying to communicate when she says this? Men are from Mars, women are from what? Venus. We have different love languages. And sometimes it gets jumbled up in the transfer of words. Sometimes one party is always on a defensive and they're not hearing. They're hearing, but they're not really listening. Listening is taking an active part in the information that's being conveyed to you.
And to play off of thoughts, what you were saying, I think that's why the divorce rate is so high, because the enemy knows how to speak to us. Just as much as God speaks to us, the enemy has his way of getting us with our most vulnerable point. Because it's only when Jeremy has pushed me every button that I have that sometimes those thoughts that we thought that we let go, they'll start to try to linger, and the enemy will try to remind us, oh, remember when he did this, or remember when he did that. And that's when you have really got to stand your ground and really take everything to God, and I think that we've gotten to that point where we can just really see, like, when things are really we're at odds, like, we really need to sit down and we need to refocus. And let's just come here, like, we need to pray right now because something is not right, and I bind the enemy on every hand. He's not about to take over my household.
Right.
So come in here and let's figure this out, because I'd be daggone if I let the enemy have his way.
That's right.
Him right in there. And I think that's crucial with having Christ as the center of everything, because having Christ in the center of everything allows you to see the enemy on every hand when he tries to come in and separate and divide.
Sister Liz, I feel your preach coming.
Yes. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, microphone.
Right.
I'm sorry, you want to say something? I was given advice from a previous first lady of mine, and I was really close to her, and she told me one time how she dealt with her husband, and it was actually through prayer. And she said, he says he's not going to do this, and he says this, and he says that. She said, but that's okay. I take it to the Lord in prayer. I tell the Lord what I want him to do. She said, and trust me, he will come back to me because the Lord then dealt with him. And he'll come back and say, all right, you go ahead, and it is, but she taught me not to fight fire with fire, not to always just, be as combative or try to stand my ground and defend self. Because that's really, it's really hard not to do, honestly, because that's just innate in all of us to want to defend ourselves, hey, but, to take a step back and say, okay, you know what, Lord, I've spoken and said everything I can possibly say on this matter. He has, we're going to have to agree to disagree, but hey, in this moment, I need you to fix it, Lord. I need you to fix it, Jesus. And, this is what I need you to do. You know, bring peace. Because like she said, he is the center. And that's why it's so important to be yoked up with a believer, you know, because you've got to have that connection, that spiritual connection for God to deal with you too, both of you, you know, because everybody's on their end thinking they're right and they have their good position and perspective on their matter of this particular topic. But, you know, it takes God to bring that peace and that resolution in that conflict, you know, and that's why it's so important to have him, because even when one partner is blocked, you got another partner that says, hey, okay, I see we're off course here, but it's okay. I'll take the low road this go round. And I'm gonna go to God in prayer. It's okay. And tomorrow, even though this conflict was there night before last or last night, I'm gonna get up and smile like nothing happened. Now, I don't believe that it ain't there now, but I'm gonna smile and I'm gonna wait on Jesus to fix it like he said he would.
I think that's where introspect really plays a huge role, because you have to be able to take a step outside of this situation and really look and see what's wrong. Like, my wife calls me an angry black bear. I just be honest. And she said, I get upset, you know. But the thing is, and I'm still learning that if I have an issue with her after we've resolved it and I still feel some type of way, I shouldn't just dead it, because it's not dead with me. And I think that's what can harbor that those issues that we may have that could end up blowing up later on. So don't just ignore it or cast it to the side. Like, deal with it and let's talk about it until you feel better about it.
That's good. That's good.
So go ahead. I'm gonna let Elder come on, and because we gotta wrap it up. I'm past my time with you all. But go ahead, Elder. Go ahead, Elder Collins.
Pastor, I'm gonna take a moment, because I want this really dealing with conflict. This was really a powerful segment. I just want to kind of share some things that we share with our couples ministry dealing with this, and just sort of dealing with remembering that conversation involves talking and listening. The same person cannot talk at the same time. You kind of have to take turns and give space to be quiet and listen to what your partner is saying. And if you feel like you need to interject something because you think you're going to forget, then, you know, write it down, get a pen and paper, write it down so you can revisit that. And in relationships, we're often dealing with different love languages. You know, she wants you to audibly tell her that you love her. And he's thinking, I already told you that I love you in my action. You know, did you eat? You know, did Dad come on?
Come on, Doc. Come on, did you eat?
You know, you got food, you got shelter.
See, that's when you have to say, help me, Jesus.
It is.
Kids got clothes on your back. Well, I love you. You know, you have to be bilingual and understand each other's language, and kind of really in dealing with conflict and identifying the true source of conflict. A lot of times what you're arguing about is not even what the conflict is even about.
Correct.
You know, you're arguing about the shoe in the middle of the floor, but you're really arguing about, you know, a financial decision that affected the household. And you're not happy about it.
You're talking good, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And really, we have to even learn how to fight fair. You know, we cannot go for the jugular. You know, or the mentality that I'm trying to take you out. You have to deal with conflict in a healthy way, where literally both parties come out still standing, and also winners.
Mm-hmm.
And so, taking a healthy approach to conflict, one must, you know, a couple things need to happen. For us, we took the essence of divorce off the table. That was not even.
That's not a topic of discussion.
That's not an option. Yeah. And so, you know, we might as well go ahead and figure this thing out, because we're gonna be together. And so I think oftentimes we have to take that option of divorce off the table, because that gives the enemy a play. And you know, and kind of even for those who are listening, who may not be married, you know, if you're going into your relationship even considering divorce as an option, then you don't need to be getting married.
Amen.
Amen.
You know, and as long as you think that there's an option for divorce, as I stated in the back of your head, you won't fight for your marriage.
True that.
You will not fight for your marriage. You won't
Mhm.
stay together. You won't fight to stay together. And you know, and finally, you have to, with us, you know, you have to set up kind of a conflict covenant, and you know, kind of set up specific rules for engagement. You have to put some things into place, and you know, and say the things that we will do, things we will not do in our conflict, and focus on the problem, not the person. You have to focus on the problem and not the person, and kind of, you know, here's some do's and don'ts in certain relationships. You know, don't talk about my mama. Don't bring up that vulnerable moment that I shared with you, because I had confidence and trust in you as my partner.
That's right.
You know, don't do these things. You know, I had a conversation with my wife a long time ago that, you know, I said, look, little sugar, I don't do the couch ministry.
Yeah, that's never worked. I've tried.
I don't, that's something
I've tried years ago. Like, you're gonna sleep on the couch
that
because we get there from TV. So, oh no, we don't do the couch ministry. I'm like,
Thank God for the guest room.
no ma'am,
Thank
no
God for the
sir.
guest room.
My bed.
I'm like, well, I'm not leaving my bedroom because I love my mattress.
You
That's
know,
right. I'm not. Somebody gotta go. Somebody's gotta go, and it's not gonna be me.
So,
We were both
you
lay
have
there
to have-
angry with each other then.
you really do have to have a covenant to deciding how you will deal with conflict and to follow those rules. And this is how you will kind of agree to do a resolution conflict safely, comfortably, where we both come out winners and neither one of us is on the pavement, you know, bleeding
Left
from
for dead.
yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, Elder. That's some good stuff. And as we wrap up, we definitely need to do a part 2 because 1 hour is not enough time. We're dealing with so much that goes with and encompasses an actual marriage. But I want, hopefully everyone has taken some great things that have listening on tonight. One thing that was brought out tonight, and I hopefully everyone got, and I took from what the conversation was, don't bury something that's still alive. I'm gonna say, don't bury something that's still alive. And I think a lot of times within marriages and even just relationships, as we're on a relationship series, a lot of times we put dirt on something that's still living and it's still breathing. And if it's not dead, don't bury it until you made sure it is dead, it's killed, and then you bury that situation. But if that situation still has a pulse and you just try to throw dirt on it, guess what? It's gonna come back and haunt you from the grave.
Yeah.
So I hope you all will take, don't bury something that's still alive. Elder Collins said something that was very key. The Bible talks about when God confused the language of the people and they weren't able to understand one another. And I think a lot of times through relationships, even though you may be communicating, but if you don't understand the other person's language, then that becomes a problem, where you have to become, as he stated, bilingual to be able to say, this is my language, but you have a language too. And I have to learn what your language is in order for us to be able to understand and comprehend one another. Because guess what? Somebody can be saying something to me in Spanish. And if I don't understand Spanish, it's going to go right over my head. If your spouse is speaking to you in a language that you cannot seemingly understand, that's when you have to take time and say, I need to learn this language so that we can be able to communicate effectively with one another. So again, you have to become bilingual. And the last thing I want to say is that you can't kill what you want to keep alive. Let me say that again. You can't kill what you want to keep alive. And so many times what happens is that the person, when a conflict comes, you go to murder that person. You find something that you know is going to really hurt them hard. And then you've wounded that person to a point that that person, you said, okay, just come on, let's just shake it off. No, you said something that was literally deadly, because the power of life and death is still in your tongue. And people say sticks and stones, words will never hurt. Words hurt.
That's
And
right.
so stuff that comes out of your mouth, you have to be careful that you don't go and kill something that you're going to look back and want that thing to be alive on the next day. So you have to be mindful not to kill what you really want to be alive. And so I hope the individuals who have been listening on tonight have gained something. We did get a question in regards to, do you feel that everyone is, the question what the person said, do you agree with the statement that marriage is not for everyone? Because this person has said that they have been asking God for a husband. That has not happened. And so they've heard the statement that marriage is not for everyone. Real quick, you all got like 30 seconds. Somebody represent and tell me your thought on that, because I want to get this person's question is in regards to, they're saying that the statement is marriage is not for everyone, but they said that they're standing in front of believing God for a husband.
Well, stand and believe God for the husband.
Okay.
Stand and believe God for the husband. Delay is not denial.
Okay.
You know, it just may not have been her time. Maybe it's some things that she has to work on. Maybe it's some things. Maybe it's just not her season. Maybe it's just some things that some knowledge she needs to acquire or whatever. Or maybe that person that God has for her is just not ready. Maybe that person is going through the process of preparation for God to bring to her. So you just never know. We don't know what the will of God is. We don't always know what his plan is what I'm saying. We don't always know what his plan is for our life. But in the meantime, while you're waiting, have fun, get busy, doing things, doing the work of the Lord, get busy, doing what your hands can find to do. Be happy in that thing that you are doing, for God to build his kingdom, and even things that make you happy. Get into some hobbies. What pleases you? Enjoy you. Take yourself to the movies. I mean, read your good book. Enjoy your shows with your popcorn. I mean, enjoy your life is what I'm trying to say. Enjoy your time here. And if you stop focusing so much on what is lacking or what you don't have, that will eventually come to you as you are engaged in other things that do make you happy and that do fulfill you, because that man or that woman is not going to fulfill you. They're not there to feel that. You're supposed to be your whole person, and they come with their whole person, and then you all combine as one. So you have to be happy with you. You have to love you.
Your 30 seconds is up. Missionary, your 30 seconds is up.
Okay.
I
think to say that marriage is for everybody, Scripture talks, Paul talks about, that there are some of us who are not called to it. I think part of the problem is that those of us who are married, sometimes we think that you can't be happy unless you find that person. But I think you can be contented. I know individuals who prayed, and or I know folks who thought that's what they needed, and when they got it, it wasn't what they thought it was. Okay. No, I do think that God can call you into singleness. Okay, he can call you into singleness. It is, but I think you need to be contented to wherever God places you.
Yes.
In that situation, and stop looking over the fence and thinking that marriage is going to make me perfect.
Yeah.
You need to be perfect before you get married, not
come
perfect,
on.
but whole before you get married. Okay.
Yes.
Because if you're not whole before you get married, you're going to come into that, ruin that other person who is whole.
That's right.
Okay.
Good.
So no, God does not call all of us into marriage, nor does he call all of us into singleness. But there are some of us that's where God calls us. So we need to learn that place.
Amen. Amen.
I'm a little bit more sensitive in that situation, because while I understand that all three of us were fortunate enough to find our husbands, and some of us at a very young age, everybody, that didn't happen for everyone. So to the woman who's in her mid-30s and in her 40s and who still desires love in marriage, I have more of a compassion in that area, because yes, we should say stand and be happy and wait on the Lord, but we also have to have a little compassion in that area and not be so stern, to say the least. But even biblically, I ask women, like, are you just going to church and coming home? Like, are you putting yourself out there? Even in the Bible, in Deuteronomy, it talked about the man found her because she was out in the field working. Like, are you putting yourself out there? What are you doing? Are you presenting yourself? Are you going out and being social? Like, your husband may not be at your local church. Your husband may be down in Atlanta. Your husband may be in Chicago or DC. Like, what are you doing to put yourself out there to avail yourself to a man to even see or expose you? Because if you're just going to church and home, how is he going to find you?
You ain't there.
I'm a piggyback off my wife because he said that the man found her while she was working in the field. The Bible says that he that findeth the wife findeth the good
thing.
and then he will obtain favor.
Hey,
Right. So this man found the woman, and because he found the woman, because she was in the posture to be found. A lot of times women aren't in the posture to be found. So while you're sitting here worrying about Joe Blow and all your other exes, like, be concerned with the things of God and be working and be in ministry and be walking in your purpose. And I do believe that if it's in God's will for you to be married, that man will find you. Because just like Brother Brad said, people are called to be single because God has greater things for them to do than be married, versus people are called to be married so we can have Facebook Lives and be able to help other marriages. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, just like people are called to be fathers and mothers.
Correct.
So we have to, I guess the foundation is know your calling. Know your calling, know what God has called you to do in the earth, and know what he's purposed you to do, and be in the posture to receive whatever God has.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that Elder Jeremy Bird said it best.
Said
it best in regards to it. I would say to the young lady, whoever who posed the question on tonight. I said, I think on the other Sunday, that if you need God, if you need another individual to help make you happy, then you've already exited God out of your life, because your source of happiness always should be God. And connected through God, and then it's enhanced with other individuals that God brings into your life. Because guess what? If that individual walks away, then your happiness walks away. But one thing about it, God will never leave you nor forsake you. And so in essence of that, that's why the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and the other stuff will be added unto you. And then with that, lean not to your own understanding, Proverbs 3, but always acknowledge him and he will direct your path. That means he leads you into the paths and places where you can be found, or if that is for the will. Unfortunately, we try to go to places where we think that would be, but God will guide us into place, because it may be in the grocery store where you'll find that one. It may be somewhere you at another event with somebody at your work or job, and somebody pops up who you've never come in contact with. God, when he orders your steps, he guides you into the places where you need to be. And so when Ruth was in that field, she was in the right field gleaning at the right time. And the Bible says that he saw her. He looked at her and he saw her work ethic. He saw her ability to do what she needed to do. So then when they actually came together, he already knew she was something that he wanted to be a part of his life. And then, as you said, obtain favor. Now you have the line of Jesus coming through. So he was now favored to help bring in the line of Jesus. And so I would say to you, seek God, know your calling, know your ministry within God, because guess what? God's desires is what you want. You got to learn how to get out of your desires and get God's desires for your life. And when you get God's desires for your life, he will allow the right people to come in your life, because guess what? You can idolize marriage and get connected with the wrong person. And the Bible says, how can two walk together unless they agree? It doesn't say how, it says, can two walk together unless they agree? Don't ask how. It's just a simple question. Can it happen? No, it can't happen. You have to agree in order to walk together. So don't be in a marriage quick to get into a marriage. Be quick to get to God. And when you get quick to get to God and learn how to be married in a relationship with God, God will then bring the right person into your life. I want to thank everybody on tonight for being a part of this panel. It's been a great discussion. I've gotten a lot of feedback. People said, this is great. This is great. I think it's beneficial and it's helpful. We didn't get into some other deeper things on tonight, but we'll have to do our part 2 of this next week. I have a couple other people that's supposed to join us, but I may have some repeat folks on here tonight to come on back and join us on next week, because I think it's needed, especially within the church. Unfortunately, Lindsay brought up something that I think that I want to tackle, and even next week, infidelity that we don't talk about. And it doesn't mean that everyone has to share, oh, this happened in my marriage, but you can use somebody else's situation that you may know of. But I think it's something that's something.
Here I did dirty laundry.
Yeah, I think because people don't want to talk about that. And I think sometimes that's why people don't want to discuss even in marriage groups and counseling, because it's like, I don't want to tell my business. But listen, let me tell you something. If you can't allow, when you go to the doctor, and I'm not saying to everybody on Facebook, but that's why you need to have some people you can talk to. Because when you go to the doctor, if you don't tell the doctor what your real symptoms are, they can really never diagnose the problem and tell you what can help you. And unfortunately, within church, we like to continue to bury situations and topics within marriage. And therefore, unfortunately, we're burying things that are still alive, and it's leading people straight to the divorce court and causing them to sign papers when there's actually could be hope for the marriage. Unfortunately, we're not going down the right avenues to bring a proper healing to those individuals. So it's time for us to stop mixed diagnosis, or I'll put it this way, we're prescribing medicine to the wrong symptoms and to the wrong ailment that's going on. You got cancer and you saying you got a headache. No, we got to deal with this cancer. You saying I got a headache. No, so we got to be truthful and honest so that we can be able to provide the proper needed medical care to help heal, deliver, and set people free. Thank you all again on tonight. I appreciate you all. Listen, if you're listening to me on the sound of my voice, I always want to take an opportunity to offer Christ to you. Christ is the essential theme of everything that we do. It's as easy as ABC, accept, believe, and confess. And all you have to say is, Lord, I'm sorry, forgive me of my sins, wash me, cleanse me, and make me whole. If you're a spouse out there that needs to rededicate yourself so you can get back, so that you're married with Christ, and not just married with children and married with circumstances and problems, but married with Christ, all you need to say is, Lord, forgive me of my sins, wash me, cleanse me, and make me whole. Created me a clean heart and renewed me the right spirit. Lord, I believe you died for my sins and rose again on the third day. If you said that, you are saved. Listen, thank you all. I want to say a quick prayer as we go out on tonight. Matter of fact, I'm going to have Elder Collins pray us out for our couples on tonight, and speak a word of prayer over the airwaves for those who may be having some problems in their marriages, because God is a healer of marriages. And trust me, the Brasses didn't get to 43 years without any issues or problems, but they got it through it because they had Christ. Listen, it's a proven fact that divorces are less among individuals who have a religious foundation and basis. It takes Christ to make this thing work, especially if he's the one that designed it. And so if Christ designed you coming together as a union, it's always best to go to the manufacturer whenever there's a problem, whatever the product may be. So thank you on tonight. Listen, I don't know all the Cash App stuff for the ministry. You all can find it on the Facebook Live. They can pull that up on tonight. I feel led to let Elder Collins pray over our married couples on tonight and speak a word of encouragement and thanks. Again, thank you all, and I love you. Elder Collins.
Before he prays, when we come to Illinois, we have to do dinner. Please. Please.
I would love that.
So you all,
We have to do dinner.
Lindsay and Jeremy are in North Carolina. So they're my friends from North Carolina.
North
We'll
Carolina.
come there for dinner.
North
Yes,
Carolina.
please do.
And then what, 2 weeks, 1 week almost. Next week, next Friday.
1 week, please be on time.
Please be on time, Dwayne.
Next week, I will be officiating their 10-year marriage renewal ceremony in North Carolina on next Friday.
Oh, we have enjoyed you all, so I can't
Thank
wait
you
to
so
visit
much.
you all.
And likewise,
Yes.
beautiful, beautiful people, beautiful couples.
Thanks.
Elder Collins.
Let's go to God in prayer. God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you, oh God, for your goodness, your mercy, and your kindness. God, we thank you for loving us. God, we thank you, oh God, for imparting, oh God, your spirit within us, oh God. And I pray right now for every couple, each couple that participated, oh God, in this panel in the name of Jesus. Oh God, I even thank you for our pastor, for his compassion, oh God, and his heart to want to help couples, oh God, want to help marriages in the name of Jesus. So I speak right now, oh God, to our married couples, oh God. I speak right now in the name of Jesus that you teach all of us, oh God, and how to resolve conflict, how to resolve it, oh God, healthy in the name of Jesus, oh God, that each party ends up, oh God, living in winners, oh God, and not on the road dead, oh God, in the name of Jesus. God, I thank you for how you have saved us in the name of Jesus, oh God. I thank you even for the single couples, the single people who are out there watching and listening to this panel, God. I even pray that they're strengthened and encouraged, that even in this conversation, even in this dialogue, that they will even know what to look for, God, as they're looking and searching for their mate in the name of Jesus. God, now as we leave this place, whenever your presence, oh God, I pray that you be with us until we meet again, and we say amen.
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 Thank you all. Love you all. Thank you all, listeners and viewers on tonight.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Night.